So here in the youth group classroom, I have built this projector screen, and we also have an overhead projector. To turn the projector on, you're going to want to use this remote, which I keep over by the computer across the room here. You aim into the projector, turns it on, pretty self-explanatory. You probably have that figured out as much already anyway. The projector has a speaker built into it. It's not a particularly great speaker. In fact, the fan of the projector is a little bit louder than the speaker itself sometimes. And so an option that you have in order to be able to utilize it and have good audio is this Bluetooth soundbar that we have set up here. This is set to pair to the Apple TV across the room. If you hit the power button to power it on, you can adjust the volume here as well. As soon as the projector's turned on, I'll show you a little bit about how I utilize this particular setup here. There is a dedicated remote for the projector and Apple TV setup that we have. However, that remote goes missing on a fairly consistent basis, partly because some of the youth groupers like to play around with it, or it ends up in couch cushions. The key is that even if that should happen, on an iPad or iPhone in Control Center, you can find this little symbol here, and I'll record my screen and show it to you a little bit better. But it's basically an Apple TV remote option that you have. You can control the settings here. So you can see, scroll through there. I don't typically use any of the apps that are actually on the Apple TV for class. Instead, I tend to present from my phone or my iPad. I use Keynote as my presentation software, and then I use what's called AirPlay to present from my iPad wirelessly to the screen here. So for example, I'm just going to open a presentation that we used a little while back. So I've got this presentation here on meditation. To do AirPlay, I'm going to go here, I'm going to swipe down into Control Center and choose Screen Mirroring, and then I'm going to choose Youth Room. You'll see that that pops exactly what's on my screen up there, and then I hit play, and the cool thing about it is it gives me a presenter view and it gives me the on-screen view. This was for an evening that was supposed to be in the dark, as we talked about meditation, and so this was a challenge for the week that we talked about meditation. You can scroll through. You can do this with PowerPoint, Keynote, or any other presentation software that you might use on an iPhone or an iPad. You can also play back video wirelessly. We use it for games and Pictionary, or other games that we might play during youth group time. It's a pretty quick and seamless way to do things. You just need to make sure that, again, the iPad is connected to the same wireless network as any of the other devices happen to be, which is the WCCC2 network. These are all song lyrics, and so it makes for a kind of nice way to present. I sometimes will hand off the iPad to have someone else move the slides, but I like this because it gives me the opportunity to make sure that I'm presenting in a way that is a little bit more free to move around the room, as opposed to being anchored in one spot. As far as other things you may want to know about utilizing this particular setup, obviously, if you are screen mirroring, you want to be aware that whatever you've got up here could pop open, and you may end up with like your Twitter account visible to everybody. Not a big issue, but still something to keep in mind. It's a pretty handy tool, and we use it almost every week. Some weeks I don't use a presentation, but if I don't, that's kind of more of an exception rather than a rule. And you can go ahead and use this to your heart's content. There are Android apps that will let you screen mirror over AirPlay. You'll search the Android store and add an AirPlay screen mirroring function to your device using an app. Yeah, hope that that's helpful for you.